All right, so now here we'll briefly talk about research ethics a little bit. Um, this is important. It's important things to talk about. And it's maybe a good moment to remind you, perhaps. I think ethics gets shortchanged across the curriculum. It's just the way it is. I mean, look at this. I'm going to have this little 5 minute or less presentation on it. So for extra credit, I encourage all of you to take the CITI extra credit training opportunity posted up on Blackboard. And it is an opportunity for extra credit by going through a little online ethics training course, which helps us to not just understand research at the ethics themselves, but the reasons for them, where they come from. So I encourage that. Okay? So the American Psychological Association has put together, I mean, many professional organizations like the AMA, the American Medical Association. They have put together their own, ethical codes. And so the APA has put together an ethical code, which is in fact followed by many, many, many disciplines. All right, well, many, many, many follow our code. It has origins in the Nuremberg Code, right? Nuremberg Code coming out of Nazi Germany, war trials. But the APA's ethical principles are, let us just say, voluntary. Okay, they are voluntary. You can choose to follow them or not follow them. But I will tell you this before I even describe them. If research is done at a university in the United States and that university receives any federal funding, and it'd be hard pressed to find a university in America that does not receive federal funding in some way, including um, you know, grants and loans to students, right? So there's inevitably federal funding at every university. So the rule's kind of vague that way. So if there is a university that receives federal funding, they are required to have something called an IRB, an Institutional Review Board. An Institutional Review Board is a group of faculty members. I'm on the IRB, and the faculty members will review research protocols. So when a researcher would like to do research, they must first submit a proposal. It's an IRB proposal. Must submit a proposal that is then reviewed by a variety of people from multiple disciplines. The IRB is consists of people from psychology, biology, history, all kinds of fields, business, they're all in there. And the idea is that the IRB, or the Institutional Review Board members, will view research and judge it based on the ethics, whether or not it's ethical. And what's interesting is that the IRB has members from so many disciplines because people from different disciplines have different perspectives, right? They see different things. And so it's a critically important idea that many perspectives see it. So with that said, the APA Code of Ethics is, quote, voluntary, but if you're doing research at a university, you must pass it through the IRB board, and the IRB board will use the APA Code of Ethics as their guideline for determining whether or not to accept the projects. So it's kind of like a voluntary. But this means that research which is done in industry doesn't have to follow these codes. This is a choice they make. It's voluntary. And there's been some real problems with this, especially for the AMA, the American Medical Association, that they are voluntary. And they're finding that other countries in the world, hint, hint, China, don't follow the ethical, they're voluntary. And so all kinds of crazy research is coming out of some of these foreign countries that cannot even be done in the United States. So we find that you're only obligated to follow this if, your institution receives federal funding. Okay. So here, what are the fundamental research ethics? Number one, help others do no harm. It's beneficence and non-maleficence is the technical words that is put up in the APA's ethical code, right? Beneficence and non-maleficence. I love that. Non-maleficence, good word. Um, we find the code, APA ethical code, focuses on establishing relationships based on trust, integrity. Integrity is key. That if a researcher says they'll do something, then they do it. Okay? We find fairness and justice are incredibly important. We find in some medical research, more than a little bit of medical research, what happens is that medical research tends to be done on poor people because medical research is like, oh, we'll pay you $150 if you do this. And the poor people go, oh, dude, I'd do that. I need $150. And then when these medicines are finally approved, what's going to happen is they're going to have a price tag that is so high the poor people can't afford them, right? And so all of a sudden, sounds awful damn exploitive to me, right? We're going to test on the poor people, and then when we establish it, poor people are stay away. So clearly, fairness and justice are incredibly important. But this last one is pretty good too. Respecting the rights and dignities of all participants. And this is essentially based on the what am I trying to say? The Constitution, right? The Bill of Rights. See, look at me. The Bill of Rights, which essentially lays out your rights as a human being. In the Bill of Rights, it's pretty clear that you don't have to earn these rights. You know, it's not something you have to earn. That we just give you these rights. And so it's the same basic idea here in the APA Code of Ethics. You don't have to earn these things. We will give respect. Even if you are a mentally retarded participant that's in a mental hospital, you get respect. Even if you're a prisoner confined, you get respect and dignity. Okay? So this is a pretty important part of it. Other things that are stipulated in the Code of Ethics, well, is the IRB, which I've already stated, but informed consent is a major part. And that is simply that I will get your permission. I will inform you about what's going to happen, inform you of possible consequences, etc., and you will voluntarily give your consent to participate. Confidentiality, or even better on the informed consent, is also the freedom to withdraw. So we're doing some research and you say, I don't like this, you're free to leave, all right, at any time, you can take off. Confidentiality, when you give me information in experimental research, listen to me, I'm an experimentalist, in research, it's confidential. That's just the way it is. Huh? Avoidance of deception. Well, sometimes we need careful use of deception. I'll just put it that way, okay? Take an experimental class with me. I'll elaborate. And then ethical care and use of animals. Now, I've never heard of animal research being done in IO psychology, but I imagine it probably could be. But yeah, the rules of to work with, and I've done extensive animal research, the rules to work with animals are very rigid. In fact, probably more rigid than they are with humans. All right, so we've got one last topic to go in this topic two, one last topic, whatever. And so we'll talk about statistics in a little while.